My wife left me and it's really difficult. I had been with my wife for 9 years, 5.5 of those being married. We found each other on a dating site late 2014 and went on our first date in early January 2015. I was immediately smitten with her. We stayed together as she took 2 overseas study abroad opportunities, finished getting her doctorate degree, and then started applying for positions. By this time, I had already decided she was the one I wanted to be with and decided to move where she'd get her position. She was only applying locally, within 1 hour driving distance from where we were, so not a drastic move. Long story short, we moved a total 3 times, progressively getting further and further away. During this time, we got married and her father, who was battling cancer, took a turn for the worse and passed away. We always wanted to move back to the town we loved and where we both went to school. It was a vibrant college town, with a lively community, great restaurants, bike paths, and rapidly growing. At this point we were living 2 hours away. She finally got to transfer to the city next to the town we loved and we finally could move. We moved in with our parents, switching between my parents' home and her mom's home. We lucked out and found a fantastic home, right on the bike path in the town. The owners were moving to another state soon and needed to sell quickly. Everything worked out. We moved into the town we loved with our puppy and finally made it to the town we loved, and it's been almost 2 years. But things have started arising. She's been upset with me, fairly so, with my ability to articulate my thoughts and my less than perfect communication style. I've tried to be better, but sometimes I don't realize I'm even falling short. I also fell short in a number of other areas, such as not getting as excited as I should have been for things she was excited about. I wanted to preface this with making it clear that I wasn't being the best husband, and I wanted to acknowledge that. She's struggled with depression and anxiety for as long as I've known her. Especially early on and when her father was sick and passing away. She'd always go through these, what I call auras of sadness, where she just gets down, and says down things, but can't explain why she's feeling down all the time, it just happens. She's then been telling me she's unhappy with some things about me. Sometimes I thought these were just these auras, but I should have been more attentive about these. Sometimes I felt defensive, as a lot of times these came across as everything going wrong with us is because of you, to me. I want to add that this negativity was in no way an everyday thing, and these arguments or pessimistic subject matters were not our entire relationship. Many of our days were filled with fun, and laughing and doing fun things around town we loved and sharing some hobbies we shared. We split tasks around the house and always handled things that came our way together. We had a set budget for things that we stuck to or came in below budget, and trusted each other with our money. She's always had a bit of a problem making friends. She's always been best friends with her parents, but outside of them and her brother, she hasn't really had a close friend since I've known her. She's been having a rough time at work and I've been urging her to try to make a friend there. She ended up getting along with someone at work who had some similar interests as her, video games, hiking, fantasy, etc. I was happy she made a friend. She was saying how he'd bring his Switch and they'd play games on lunch. We played games online with him and I even invited him to play D&D with a campaign I was about to run. She didn't seem to be hiding anything in particular, and I don't think anything was going on. She seemed open with me about it all. She even asked if it was okay if they ate lunch together sometimes, which didn't really bother me. I had work friends after all too. Then she asked one day if it was fine if they went on a hike on her day off. I didn't want to be a controlling person that didn't allow her to have friends just because they were a male, so I said it's fine. I didn't feel particularly bad about it. I completely trusted her. The next night was her company Christmas social hour, being held at a local bar near her work. The company was paying for it, so it was only for the staff, no plus ones. I was bummed because I wanted to meet a lot of these co-workers she complained to me about all the time, but I wasn't particularly worried. This part is important, because my wife is very adamant about going to bed by a certain time. She can't play D&D with one of my groups because it gets over at 11 p.m. She's typically in bed by 10 p.m. every night, and asleep before 11. I was waiting for her to get home. And the time crept from 9 to 10, 11, 12. At this point, the bar was closing, so I was surprised she closed down the bar, but I know how office parties can get. Figured she'd be home around 1 then. Then 2 o'clock, 3, 4. I started getting worried. I am woken up by her getting home at 5 a.m. I asked what happened and she said she wasn't okay to drive home, so she sobered up in her car. And just talked with her friend until she felt okay to drive. It was 5 a.m., I accepted the answer. The next day we had a Christmas party, but she seemed distant and quiet on the drive. She said it was because she was so tired from not getting enough sleep. Alright, the next day, she was leaving on a 5-day mini road trip with her brother. Before he picked her up, I had a quick talk to her and said that I just didn't feel comfortable with her spending so much time with him anymore and talking to him so much. She said, "That's fair. I understand." And that was that. She went on her road trip. At this point I was suspicious. When she came back, she still seemed distant and off. I asked her what was wrong and she said she's just tired. But, I didn't accept that answer anymore. She said she'd tell me after Christmas. When I asked why's that matter, she said she didn't want to ruin Christmas. That set off alarm bells. I told her that I couldn't wait until after Christmas knowing that it was a big enough deal that she feels that it'd ruin Christmas for me. She told me of all the things that were making her unhappy with me and my shortcomings and all that. These were mostly all valid complaints, by the way. She told me that she's held out for long enough and that she wants a divorce. It was really eye-opening and hit me like a truck. I felt how serious she was and I acknowledged all she was saying and wanted to try to reconcile and fix the things I was doing wrong. Then she said that there was one more thing. That she cheated on me that night. She was out until 5 a.m. in the car with her friend, who I found out was also married, and also the day before on the hike. On the hike there was just kissing and some touching, but in the car the next night there was far more. I was willing to work past it and reconcile to save our marriage because I really loved her and wanted to stay with her. Over the holidays we went to all the parties and family get-togethers, and for that week I tried to make my case. She was considering both options, but eventually ended with her staying with her initial response to leave me. I was wondering if this had anything to do with that coworker, and she said she tried to make this decision without considering him as a factor and that she's been unhappy for a while. She did say that she couldn't really bring herself to split with me ever, but this coworker was the trigger to make her do it. Now, I've moved back in with my parents and we are working on officially splitting and divorcing. I'm having a miserable time. I lost the home I loved and the town I loved. I don't get to see my puppy. We agreed to trade him every week, and my living situation is not ideal. I am also dreadfully lonely. I talk to her every day / all day while at work, and I hung out with her and talked to her every night. Now, when we text, it's not playful or affectionate. It's just lifeless and soulless. She was my rock when I had issues or was sad, and I lost that. I don't have anyone that can fill that hole she left. What's worse, is normally she'd message me back in a timely fashion. But lately, in the evenings, it's been complete silence, with message not even being seen by her. This is the same feeling I had that night she was out until 5 a.m., and the only other time she's ever ghosted me for hours. It may not be right, but I am assuming he's with her. And it's eating me up inside. We've only been living apart for 5 nights now, so to think he's already there, in my house with her, so soon is hurtful. At the end of the day, while I'm hurt by that, I also feel regret about not doing enough soon enough to be better. None of this would be happening if I had just been less selfish or stubborn and tried harder.